What's up, Sludge Simps? So now that the Studio Series 86 line has given us 3 Dinobots, I think it's pretty fair to guess we're gonna be in this for the long haul. Personally, I'm all about that, because who wouldn't want a set of leader class Dinobots? Especially when Grimlock and Slug were both exceptionally awesome. I think it's fair to say it's only a matter of time before we get Swoop and Snarl, and all I have to say about that is, take all my money. So today, let's be the judge of Studio Series 86 Sludge. Now, as a character, Sludge was one of the original 3 Dinobots, along with the previously mentioned Grimlock and Slug. And I guess there was also the time Devastator hit him so hard his eyes popped out of his head, like freaking Looney Tunes, which may possibly be the strangest animation choice in the entire history of G1, a cartoon partially defined by strange animation choices. Transform! But Sludge is a true staple of the Dinobots, and the team wouldn't be complete without him, so let's explore the Brontosaurus before us. Starting off with Sludge's stoic robot mode, this is huge and mighty, albeit with less dino and more bot. I've never really seen it before, but Sludge is sort of the least visually interesting of the Dinobots, at least in robot mode. I'm not trying to start anything, but the rest of them have bombastic, splayed out dino parts in their robot modes. Imagine if you had to compete with someone wearing spikes and horns. You'd lose the fashion show! By comparison, Sludge looks like he's wearing his Sunday best, but at least the dino kibble gives him an intriguing silhouette. Besides, we all know the mission here is to give a loving translation of Sludge right off the 2D animation cells of the screen and into the third-dimensional plastic realities of our shelves. So let's see if it works. Starting off, the chest gives this very robot-y aura dedicated to angles and indentations, like his whole torso is a futuristic red building. Not to mention the sideways mouse droid black bib representing references to the G1 Sludge's cartoon and toy appearances, like the centered chest crosshairs. I like how it's directly over where his spark presumably is, like he's wearing a target on his chest because he's crazy enough to practically dare the Decepticons to shoot him there. The arms look mighty and beefed, like he can crush a watermelon with them. They can also do a pretty wicked double-jointed bend, and there's great strength in the shoulder ratchets. And the shoulders themselves look so muscular and round, which his forearm arrow happily calls attention to, seemingly ripped right out of Optimus Prime. His hands are positioned at the end of his arm with his dino toe sleeves, and I've never noticed this about Sludge before, but his 2 front dino toes being on the back of the robo arm is taken straight from the G1 cartoon and toy. I know that's a simple detail, but it really blows my mind they cared that much about making this as true to the source material as possible. And getting to the Sludge Stompers, he's representing some truly monumental legs. Below the knees, they look like mountains, just sloping outward until they get to the Sludge Trudgers. I just love this. Unfortunately, the legs do bring us a slight issue. Since I've heard a lot of earlier copies have loose knee ratchets, my figure seems to have lucked out with a soothing but noticeable clickage. With that said though, I do wish these kibble wings could have been pinned in rather than just slotted on. They feel more loose and floppy than I'd prefer and lack the bombastic impact of the rest of the toy. But moving to the head sculpt, it's so cute and kind of hilarious. There's not a single thing going on in there. This is the face he's making when Optimus is giving orders, but he's too busy wondering if he accidentally went to McDonald's twice that day. It captures his essence wonderfully. Adore his bare ears, and the silver shines against the black deliciously. And I love how great modern generations figures have been getting the eyes too. A beautiful blue and even a bit of a subtle dark outline. It's perfect. But if I can get back to the sculpting for a second, I'm astounded at all the relatively small but loving little inclusions that make this toy more Sludge. Like the 8 red squares on his chest, the gray circle shoulders, and the lines on his shiny yellow robo feet. I don't think there's been a Transformer of recent memory with bad sculpting, but it always impresses me how hard they go sometimes. Moving on to the weaponry, he includes this very round pipe-like gun that's all barrel. It's like a handheld cannon. The detail takes it far, but the shiny yellow paint really carries it the rest of the way. I suppose it's a little redundant for a guy this huge to have a gun in the first place, since he can probably crush his enemies by stepping on them, but I'll allow it. It looks good. Unlike the other studio dinos, he doesn't come with a tiny plastic friend like Daniel or Wheelie, but I'm good. I don't even know where my Wheelie that came with Grimlock is. And finally, he's pretty packed with posability. The top heaviness does make him trickier to stand and more dynamic, or dynamic poses, but all the joints are there and it all works if you're patient to put in the extra seconds. And I have to say, I really admire the absolute dedication given to every figure now, making sure the articulation is at least passable. It's pretty great. We're eating good. My minor nitpicks aside, this is a super good robot mode. Just a spectacular, stomping spectacle of a sludge. There's very little that could have been done to make it better, making it a pretty hot Dinobot. The transformation is fantastic. It really goes above and beyond. It kind of gives me life. Sure, it's arguably more than it needs to be, but I guess the designers wanted to give us something so completely different than what we were expecting. Like the whole chest unplugging and rotating 180 degrees, and the top of the dino flipping out from his shins. It's fun, clever, and rewards you with this complete treat of a dino mode. So I'm gonna call him a Brontosaurus, and anyone who has a problem with that can take it up to TF Wiki. I think we can all agree that dinosaurs and robots both fit snugly into the Venn diagram of things that are awesome, so there comes this inherent lovable energy from this bodacious, bombastic bitchin' Brontosaurus. The head sculpt is too perfect. It looks simultaneously intense and like it has no idea what's going on. I live for the proud red Autobot logo on the forehead, and while his eyes don't pop out of his head, his mouth can open and roar with the best of them. There's no shortage of lines and angular robot detailings getting the imagination going. I'm really in love with the shape of this thing too, with the soothing curves and the round demeanor really giving some character and likability to this preposterous, pleasant paragon. It maybe could have done with more paint work, but what's there is good, with the silver sections and the metallic yellow on the round head and the fake feet. Because this figure transforms so differently than other sludges, his actual robot mode feet end up under the underside. It might look faintly graceless, but you can at least plug the weapon in for some storage. I'm not saying that looks any better, I'm just saying, it's a thing. And the beast mode articulation is rather respectable, with the legs being able to move basically however you please. I'm particularly drawn by how his front legs have an up and down ankle movement, and the neck can pose vertically along with an up and down left and right movement in the head. Maybe I could have done without the visible screw holes, but like, whatever, it's a toy, I'll survive. So I really don't know what more I could have wanted from this. This is an adorable, ferocious sludge of a sludge. There's just something about a herbivore that gives off friendly, good-natured vibes and makes me want to be around this thing. It always makes me want to transform this toy specifically to get to this mode when he's not bustling around in bot mode. And that's Studio Series Sludge. Overall, an excellent figure and a worthy addition to the Dino trio. It has a good robot mode, a great Brontosaurus mode, a terrific transformation, and I like this figure more the more I spend time with it. That's a pretty great sign, yeah? It's probably the best official Sludge toy ever, and it's so great we're finally getting proper, earth-shatteringly big, stomping representations of these characters. Sludge is, at the end of the day, the good dinosaur. So I've been me, and this has been Sludge. Now I'm gonna go and eat some fudge.